Are your thoughts constantly pulled towards sexual distractions? It's time to take control and desexualize your brain. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Stu Murray, a former educator turned men's coach and founder of Brothr. After years of struggling with loneliness and a lack of direction, I found my way through ownership, accountability, and brotherhood. And now I help other men do the same. If you're just tuning in now, this is part 3 of a series on lust and hypersexualization. In part 1, we talked about the destructive impact that lust has on mental health, leadership, and our relationships. And in part 2, we looked at how men achieve more by being able to redirect their energy into what truly matters. Today, we're diving into a deeper level, rewiring the brain. We'll take a look at how the dopamine system keeps men trapped in cycles of lust, and how you can actually reprogram your brain through a dopamine detox to focus on the long-term achievements and the things that matter rather than instant gratification. In this fast-paced modern world, it's easy to have a brain that becomes trained towards instant gratification, getting the quick fix, getting the easy resolve, getting the pill that's going to solve everything. And it's much harder to actually train the brain and our dopamine system to pursue that longer-term vision that's aligned with the man that we're becoming and the vision that we want to actually bring in, the legacy that we want to leave here. And I'd invite you to take a moment to actually reflect on your relationship with that technology. How many channels on your social media are full of hypersexualized content or women with very little clothing showing up in your feed? And how often are you watching porn? And what does it feel like after you've watched porn? What is your relationship like with this stimulation? And I'm not even suggesting anything is good or bad here, but more to bring awareness to how is your energy level after you've been stimulated by something so intense, so overwhelming, something that our ancestors would have never been used to. And if you don't find yourself with a hypersexualized feed, you could actually apply this to anything. Think about the kind of foods that you're eating, those things that are high in refined sugars or maybe addictive patterns that you have in any way, whether that's drugs or any kind of behavior. Think about what it's like when you get that instant gratification and also the feeling that remains afterwards, maybe within 30 seconds or maybe an hour after the sugar crash is gone. Start to just bring awareness to it, not needing to judge it, but bring a neutrality, a kind of observation to what's happening as that pattern repeats itself. When we fall victim to the constant hypersexualization or the instant hits of attention through scrolling or whatever that is, the food that you're eating, the content that you're consuming, this starts to create a dopamine addiction, and it rewires our brain from that long-term vision, the legacy that we're creating, the family that we're here to provide for, to what is that next quick fix that I can hit so that I can re-up on my supply, to be able to just live moment to moment, repeating that pattern of chasing the instant hits of dopamine that are just going to keep filling me up, but leaving me empty shortly after. Dopamine addiction reinforces this cycle and makes it harder to pursue long-term motivation and goals, which require patience, persistence, and discipline. So all of this begs the question, what can you do about it? And the good news is, just like the brain can be negatively programmed to pursue instant gratification, it can also be rewired to have a positive relationship with that dopamine system. One of the most powerful ways to do this is through what is called a dopamine detox. And essentially what that is a systematic way to eliminate some of those hyperstimulants that are in your environment, be that the porn or the hypersexualization on your social media feed or video games or the sugars that you're eating on a regular basis or the drugs that you're consuming. Starting to limit our exposure to these things and rewire the brain for something different. This allows an opportunity to reset your brain's reward system. When you are not constantly chasing quick hits and instant pleasures to spike up that dopamine, you are creating space for you to actually pursue these longer term goals and these longer term visions that you have in your life that have been put on the back burner because of that quick hit of dopamine that you continue to chase. in that spaciousness, in that lack of distraction, in the clarity, you're able to make the conscious choice to not take that quick hit in the moment and instead choose the discipline, the patience, the persistence that's required to be able to do the hard thing. In essence, that's actually what discipline is. It's our ability to choose our long-term visions and goals over the short-term pleasures that are all around us. A few practical steps that you can do to lean into this is to commit to 1 week or 2 weeks or a month of a few action steps, like reducing your screen time, choosing intentional moments to actually access your computer or your phone, or even on the other side, blocking out times where you leave your phone at home or you're not going on your computer and accessing all of these things that you would normally just habitually jump onto. Another piece around that is being more intentional with the devices that you have. I like to ensure that my devices each have a purpose. For example, my phone does not have any social media apps on it. I dedicate that to be the place where I text and I call friends and family. And likewise, my laptop is generally the place where I do work and answer emails. So I invite you to think about what is the purpose and the use of the device that you have. And the more you create that structure, the more you create intentionality of the purpose of that device, the more you can bring your actions in alignment with that. So I invite you, maybe that's downloading one of those apps that restricts your amount of usage and only allows you to spend so much time per day on certain applications, or maybe it's just deleting certain apps altogether because that device shouldn't be used for that purpose. For me, it's kind of like the same thing that I do with food. I know that if there is sugar in my house, I'm going to have a moment, likely at night, where my discipline and ability to restrict what I'm eating is lower. I know that if I don't have sugar in the house, then my ability to eat that is virtually non-existent. So what I need to do is actually exercise restraint at the grocery store more than it is exercising restraint at home. I'm proactively setting myself up for success. And you can do the same with your relationship with technology. Choose how you want to relate with the gadgets. Don't let those gadgets own you. Beyond the relationship with technology, mindfulness is a really wonderful practice to bring in. And that allows us to get into a place where we can calm down the mind, bring awareness back to the breath, and start to train ourselves to go to the breath. If you're somebody who's meditated before, you've clearly experienced the point where you sit down and close your eyes and start to bring awareness to your breath and notice how quickly your mind drifts to another thought, and actually how hard it is to stay connected and mindful and aware of that breath, and how it is a practice to catch ourselves when we're drifting and intentionally bring ourselves back. If you practice that in an intentional space like a seated meditation or a yoga practice or a walking meditation or just grounding yourself out in nature, whatever that is, an opportunity when you notice yourself drifting to bring yourself back, to train your attention to come back to the present moment, to be satisfied with what is, not needing anything else to fill your cup in this moment other than just the presence and awareness of the breath, of the body. This will train you to be able to override those quick desires for pleasure-seeking behavior. And on that note, when you do feel instant gratification pulse coming through, that impulse to want to watch porn or to scroll on your social media feed or to get that next bit of sugar, whatever that is for you, try giving it 2 minutes. Notice the impulse coming up and bring the awareness instead to your breath. Say, can I be with this for 2 minutes? Can I commit to that? A lot of the times that impulse will actually fade and the mind will be somewhere else and on to another thought. And that strong desire to take action for the instant gratification will really dissolve. And if it doesn't, you can do that thing and don't need to beat yourself up about it. But every time you're at least giving yourself that break, you're giving yourself an opportunity to choose a different response. And it's in that power of choice that we can actually become more aligned with that man we're becoming and step into those long-term visions and goals that we have for ourselves. So you don't need to beat yourself up every time you do choose instant gratification, because this is a long-term process. And again, we live in a society that just bombards us from all directions. This is a practice. So be patient with yourself, bring a degree of awareness, bring a degree of persistence with this. Every time that impulse comes, can I give this 2 minutes? Can I breathe into this? And you will be surprised how many times that impulse comes up that after even 2 minutes time, you're no longer craving that thing. Ultimately, desexualizing your brain is not about repression. It's about freedom. It's about the ability to reclaim sovereignty over the choices that we make. If all I'm pursuing are these quick hits all over the place, I'm not going to be a trustworthy man. I don't set myself up to be a high-value man who is achieving and operating at a high standard and level that makes me trustworthy, that makes me a leader. If I want to develop the capacity of leadership and the ability to stay disciplined, to stay focused, I need to regain control of the choices that I'm making in my life and be able to be conscious that I am moving towards something bigger and I'm moving towards a future vision that isn't fully realized, but every choice I take is moving me closer to that reality, rather than staying stuck on this treadmill of hedonic pleasure and pursuing instant gratification. That is not freedom. That is your own prison. And each time it's going to feel like a little hit, and every time it's going to leave you feeling empty. So if you're ready to actually take the reins in your life and move closer towards what you actually desire and the man that you're becoming, getting control over your dopamine system is essential to that journey. Once you stop letting lust and quick dopamine hits control your actions, you'll experience far more control, fulfillment, and meaning in your life. This isn't just about resisting urges, it's about creating a new way of being. By practicing consistent and simple habits like the dopamine detox and mindfulness, you will regain control over your thoughts, your actions, and your future. Start today. Limit your screen time and be more intentional about your relationship with technology or food or whatever it is that you're noticing yourself struggling with. And bring in mindfulness practices, especially before that quick pulse comes on, so that you can train your brain and your body and your nervous system to respond in a different way than you habitually do. And I'm curious to hear from you. What practices have helped you regain control and focus of your brain and your dopamine system? Let me know down in the comments below. Thanks again for tuning in. This is Stu Murray signing off, and we'll see you next week.